Welcome to Stories by Rushik podcast. Have you ever felt just completely exhausted? And I mean bone tired, but not from actually working.
Oh, you mean from lugging around a lifestyle curated for people who, frankly, don't even know your name?
Yes, exactly. Like, just picture it for a second. You are sprinting through life, and both your arms are weighed down by these heavy shopping bags full of things you absolutely do not need.
Right, just trying to keep up this frantic pace set by, well, an invisible audience.
It's just a painfully accurate image of how most of us operate today.
It really is. I mean, we are running this marathon of modern existence. We're trying to balance 2 EMIs, carrying around 3 of those ridiculously expensive scented candles that, let's be honest, we're too afraid to actually light.
Oh, I have definitely done that.
Right. And then we sit on the edge of the bed at the end of the day just wondering why we feel so completely drained. We tell ourselves we're tired from the grind of our jobs. But the reality is we were just overstuffed.
Yeah, we're carrying the physical and the psychological weight of a lifestyle that we just haven't actually questioned.
Exactly.
Which, honestly, sets up our mission perfectly today. We are exploring a super witty and incredibly honest piece of thought leadership by Rushik.
It's such a brilliant piece of writing.
It really is. We're going to unpack exactly how his unique perspective helped him manage to retire at the age of 36.
Which is a full 7 years early, by the way.
Right. 7 years early. And just to set the record straight right out of the gate for you listening, he didn't hit some secret crypto lottery.
Nope.
And there was no shady investment guru feeding him insider stock tips either.
And I think that's why his approach feels so grounded. You know, this isn't one of those lectures about hoarding every single penny or punishing yourself by eating nothing but rice and beans for a decade.
Ugh, thankfully.
Right. It's a fundamental shift in how you view money and time.
Yeah.
It's really about how ditching those daily dopamine buys and stopping the silent bleed of monthly subscriptions, and honestly, just ignoring society's nonsense, is the ultimate shortcut to buying back your own life.
Yeah, so let's start right where he starts with what he calls the illusion of arriving.
Okay, yeah.
Because we move from this massive, almost abstract dream of early retirement to the literal physical weight of trying to look successful in your 20s and 30s.
Oh, the Spanish symbols.
Exactly. He points the finger straight at status footwear, like those 12,000 rupee sneakers. You buy them because you think they broadcast to the world, hey, look at me, I am doing well, I have arrived.
Right, but his observation just cuts right through that. He notes that what those shoes are actually broadcasting, anyone paying attention, is I am not investing in mutual funds.
Ouch. I mean, it's so true, though. The logo on the side of the shoe is incredibly loud, but the silence in the savings account is just deafening.
It's deafening. And let's look at the mechanics of why that is so devastating to your future, because it really comes down to the math of compounding interest.
Right.
Every single time you pay a premium just for brand bragging rights, you aren't just spending 12,000 rupees today. You are literally robbing your future self of what that money could become.
Because if you just drop that money into an index fund and, leave it alone, it doubles.
Yeah. And then that new larger amount doubles again. Over 15 or 20 years, that single pair of sneakers could have funded an entire month of your living expenses in retirement.
Wow. When you put it like that, it's brutal.
It is. You are trading long-term exponential freedom for a short-term depreciating asset that goes on your feet. He argues that the ultimate flex isn't wearing the latest Jordans.
Right. The ultimate flex is retiring at 36, while everyone else in your peer group is still actively budgeting for their next pair of shoes.
Exactly. And he takes this exact same logic and applies it to our technology. He calls it the annual phone funeral.
Oh, the phone funeral. We have completely normalized this absolute absurdity of upgrading a 1,20,000 rupee phone every single year.
We really have.
And for what, exactly? So your selfies are like 2% sharper. Or so you get 3 brand new emojis to text your friends?
It's become a ritual. It's the annual unboxing of a device that does the exact same thing as the device we just tossed in a drawer.
Okay, look, I hear that, but practically speaking, I run my business from my phone. I manage my entire life on it. It's how I connect with my family.
Sure.
So how do you separate paying for a necessary high-quality digital tool from just paying what is essentially a 35 lakh lifetime status tax? Doesn't modern life just demand good hardware?
Well, that is the exact rationalization that Apple and Samsung are banking on. But his countermove challenges that utility argument directly. I mean, he is writing this brilliant financial advice on a 5-year-old device.
Wait, really? A 5-year-old phone?
Yeah. Think about the functionality. A 5-year-old phone still sends emails instantly. It still takes high-resolution photos. It still lets him Google how to retire early.
That's true.
And, as he humorously notes, it still spies on him and serves him targeted ads just as effectively as the new model would.
Oh my gosh, yes. The surveillance capitalism works perfectly fine on old hardware.
Exactly. The algorithm doesn't care if you have the iPhone 15 or an older model. It's still monetizing your attention. So there is zero functional difference in his day-to-day life.
So the core insight here is really that quiet wealth equals peace.
Yes. When you step off that treadmill of constant tech upgrades, you aren't just saving money. You are reclaiming the mental bandwidth you used to spend researching the new specs or, watching the keynote speeches and waiting in line.
You just stop caring.
You stop caring and suddenly you have all your time back.
Okay, so you've bought the shoes and you've bought the phone, but you obviously can't be out on the street performing for strangers 24/7.
No, thankfully not.
So when you retreat home from this exhausting performance, you'd think you'd finally relax. But no, the performance just moves indoors. We have to talk about how we decorate our homes.
Oh, this is the big one.
He describes this phase where his living room looked like Pinterest and a spa had a baby.
A highly curated, very expensive baby.
So expensive. We are talking artisanal trays, scented candles positioned perfectly on coffee table books that literally nobody reads,
Right.
cushion covers that cost more than a therapy session. He was building what was essentially a Pinterest-perfect prison inside his own house.
And it reveals so much about the psychology of home aesthetics. He realized he was decorating his space to impress visitors.
But who are these visitors?
Exactly. Usually there were people who only came over, sat on the sofa, and immediately asked for the Wi-Fi password.
Yes, it's so true.
He was spending a small fortune on aesthetic approval from justs, rather than designing a space for his own soul. So he ended up trading in the dream of that perfect, Instagram-ready, mid-century modern couch for something entirely different.
Because he shifted his priority to comfort over curation.
Right. His current couch might not win any architectural design awards, but it is the exact physical place where he sat down, felt completely comfortable, and planned out his early retirement.
That is the definition of good design. I mean, a home needs to serve the person actually living in it, not act as a museum for a perfect color palette.
Absolutely. And, the clutter in that home isn't just physical, is it?
Oh no, it's the digital clutter, the invisible things draining our accounts. He calls it the subscriptions that subtracted me.
Such a great phrase.
He was subscribed to everything. Netflix, Amazon Prime, Spotify, Zomato Gold. He even had a premium meditation app that, ironically, only served to give him anxiety.
It is the ultimate modern irony, isn't it? Paying a monthly fee to have a soothing voice through your AirPods remind you that you're fundamentally stressed out.
It's ridiculous. But hold on, the entire pitch for these apps, especially food delivery or like productivity tools, is that they are life hacks.
That's how they sell them.
They are explicitly sold to us as ways to buy back our time, right? To make our incredibly busy lives easier so we can finally relax.
Sure, they are marketed as life hacks, but the reality of the subscription model is that it relies heavily on your inertia. You end up bleeding from 1,000 tiny monthly cuts.
Because you just forget they're there.
Exactly. The business model works because you forget you are paying for it. Your wallet drains automatically, quietly, every single month. And the real kicker.
What?
He realized he was working overtime, taking on all this extra stress just to pay for all these subscriptions, which left him too exhausted to actually sit down and enjoy any of them.
Oh, wow. So you are literally working late to pay for the Netflix account you fall asleep trying to watch at 11 p.m.?
Precisely. You're funding your own exhaustion. So he just canceled half of them.
Just like that.
Yep. And then he went back and canceled half again. He reframes modern minimalism in a way that is so much more practical than just having, empty white rooms.
Right. For him, minimalism isn't a stark wall or a capsule wardrobe. Minimalism is the joy of not remembering passwords. Just hearing the phrase, the joy of not remembering passwords, physically lowers my blood pressure.
Because it removes the cognitive load. Every single subscription is a tiny background process running in your brain.
Yeah, you have to update the credit card when it expires, you have to remember the login, and then you have to deal with the guilt when you see the charge for an app you haven't even opened in 3 months.
It's exhausting. He traded that mental drain for reading physical books from the library, taking long walks outside, and meditating in total silence without an app whispering at him to breathe.
I love that. But if subscriptions are these fixed, invisible monthly drains, there's also a direct causal link to the next trap.
Oh, the daily ones.
Yes, because you are so stressed by all these bills, you start relying on sneaky daily emotional expenses just to cope. We have to talk about the daily dopamine death trap.
Yeah.
The 300 rupee coffee.
And it rarely stops at just coffee, does it?
Never. It's the coffee, then it's the green smoothies, then it's the random slices of cake at 3 p.m. These little indulgences.
Because you tell yourself, well, I worked hard today, my boss was a nightmare, I deserve this.
Exactly. But when he ran the math, it wasn't just a coffee. It was 1,000 just treats over the course of a year.
And when you aggregate those purchases, it completely ceases to be a harmless splurge. 1,000 treats a year is a massive chunk of your investable income.
Right. He calls it taking out an emotional payment plan, which is just such a brilliant way to frame it. We are literally renting joy with interest.
We really are. Let's break down how that emotional payment plan actually works in our brains, because capitalism is incredibly efficient at creating the stress and then turning around and selling you the temporary cure.
Oh, totally.
You are exhausted from the commute, the performative emails, the demands of that lifestyle we just talked about. You are operating at a massive psychological deficit.
So you buy that 300 rupee sugar and caffeine hit as like a high interest loan against your own energy.
Right. You get 15 minutes of bliss, but then the caffeine wears off, the sugar crashes, and the underlying exhaustion is still right there.
Only now you have slightly less money.
Exactly. Which keeps you trapped in the job that is causing the exhaustion in the first place. You need a bigger hit tomorrow just to reach baseline.
It's a completely closed loop. But once he recognized the trap, he short-circuited it. He traded those expensive lattes for long walks.
And he notes that now, when he simply makes and sips a basic coffee at home, somehow it actually tastes like freedom.
Because that cup of coffee is no longer serving as a Band-Aid for a life he hates.
Exactly. And speaking of psychological traps that keep this loop going, we definitely have to look at his take on the word sale.
Oh man, those 4 letters that just completely bypass our rational thought.
He admits that seeing a 70% off sign used to trigger this primal hunter-gatherer instinct in him. Like, it felt like a rare berry bush he had to harvest immediately.
Yes. It feels like the universe actively wants you to have those shoes or that new gadget. It's that adrenaline rush of feeling like you are beating the system.
When in reality, the system has actually just manipulated you into opening your wallet.
Right. The psychology here is all about how retailers manipulate our perception of value versus cost. But his golden rule to combat this is ruthless.
It is, but it's so effective. He realized that if he didn't need the item before the discount was applied, he definitely did not need it after.
Because buying cheap junk is still buying junk, no matter what the sticker says.
The discount doesn't magically imbue the item with utility or purpose in your daily routine.
Yeah.
It just makes the mistake slightly cheaper to make.
So his new methodology is just super simple. He asking himself, if this wasn't on sale, would I still be reaching for my credit card?
And if the answer is no, he walks away. Because walking away preserves 2 very important things: your dignity and your savings rate.
Okay, so all of this, the status clothes, the constant tech upgrades, the curated home decor, the daily treats, it all funnels down into one ultimate question. Who are we actually buying all this for in the first place?
The phantom audience.
The phantom audience.
Yes.
He had this massive realization that he wasn't really spending his money for his own happiness at all. He was spending it to keep up.
Keeping up with cousins at family events, colleagues at the office, influencers online.
And trying to match that one friend whose life looks like a high-end travel commercial.
If you look at the evolutionary psychology behind this, we are hardwired to want to belong to the tribe.
Right.
Thousands of years ago, if the tribe thought you were successful and capable, you got better resources. If you were cast out, well, you didn't survive.
So our brains are basically using that ancient survival hardware to process Instagram likes and the side-eye from a coworker about our phone model.
It's a complete glitch in our modern matrix. We are curating our lives for a tribe that is, quite frankly, too busy curating their own lives to even notice ours.
I mean, I understand the evolutionary drive, but in modern society, visibility often translates directly to opportunity.
Sure, it can.
Like, if you aren't seen succeeding, if you aren't wearing the right clothes to the networking event or showing that you take nice vacations, don't you risk falling behind? If we start performing, don't we just become invisible?
And that is the exact fear that keeps the economy churning. But his most empowering insight is what happens when you actually test that fear.
What happens?
He realized that becoming invisible to that specific superficial audience was the best thing that ever happened to him.
Because none of them actually cared.
Exactly. The cousins, the colleagues, the influencers,
Yeah.
they weren't losing sleep over his sneaker brand or his living room cushions. He was actively funding a very expensive theatrical performance, and the auditorium was completely empty.
The applause was non-existent.
Non-existent.
Wow, funding a performance with no applause. When you realize the seats are empty, you can finally just stop saying your lines.
It completely redefines what success looks like. He argues that true success is choosing to live far below your financial means, but living well above societal expectations.
Because success isn't accumulating a collection of shiny objects to prove your worth to strangers at a stoplight.
Success, as he beautifully puts it, is a nap without guilt. It's silent mornings. It is having choices.
Which brings us to the ultimate return on investment. The grand reveal of what all these tiny daily no's actually bought him.
Yeah, this is the best part.
He didn't just save a pile of money in an account. He bought back 7 years of his life. 7 extra years of human existence.
And he is very clear that this isn't just about the mathematical milestone of hitting a retirement number. It is a second chance at life while you're still young enough to actually enjoy it. Time is the one truly non-renewable resource we have.
Just visualize what owning your time actually looks like on a random Tuesday.
It's amazing.
It's waking up and actively deciding not to check your email because you don't have a boss waiting on a reply. It's spending an extra 20 minutes throwing a ball for your dogs. It's helping your aging parents with genuine compassion and patience because you aren't secretly checking your watch, rushing off to a Zoom meeting.
But it's having the bandwidth to write poetry so spectacularly bad that even Grammarly just throws its virtual hands up and quits on you.
Yes. Or writing a novel that absolutely nobody reads and being completely fine with that. Doing things purely for the intrinsic joy of doing them, not for the hustle, not to monetize a hobby, not for content.
Just living.
Just living. Cooking a meal without frantically checking the clock. Sleeping in without setting 5 different alarms just to jolt your nervous system awake. He readily admits he doesn't own a yacht. He doesn't have the billionaire private jet lifestyle, but he owns his time completely and entirely.
Because every single time he said no to the status sneakers, the incremental phone upgrades, the forgotten subscriptions, and the daily sugar hits, he was literally purchasing future hours of freedom.
He really proves that true peace actually lives in less.
We are conditioned by a very loud world to believe that success is always found in acquiring more. But acquiring more just requires you to maintain more, protect more, and work harder to fund more. Less is really the only true path to enough.
That is perfectly said. And this brings us to a final thought for you to carry with you today. We've talked a lot about stripping away the noise, the subscriptions, the aesthetics, the expectations of the phantom audience.
Yeah.
But what happens when you actually succeed in doing that? What if you just stopped playing the game entirely? If you didn't have to constantly manage your status, your digital clutter, and your performative spending, what are you actually afraid of encountering in that sudden silence?
That's a great question.
Are we using the endless noise of consumerism and the treadmill of upgrades just to avoid sitting quietly with ourselves? Because when you strip away the lifestyle curated for strangers, you are finally left alone with the person you actually are. And maybe getting to know that person is exactly what your early retirement is for. Thank you for listening to Stories by Ruchik podcast. For more such podcasts, follow Stories by Ruchik on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Prime Music, and YouTube.